Today's guest is someone whose influence you may not see on screen, but without him, the deals wouldn't get done. Bill Barlow is the shark behind the sharks. While the world watches Shark Tank to see high stakes pitches and investor decisions, few realize that for over a decade, Bill has been the force turning those bold ideas into real thriving businesses. Working alongside original shark Kevin Harrington, he led the behind the scenes team negotiating contracts, structuring deals, and executing business strategies that brought investments to life. Now at the helm of famous discoveries, Bill is a strategic thought leader driving brand evolution and corporate growth across industries. From QVC to global wellness brands, his team has built a powerhouse portfolio by solving the toughest executive challenges in both B2B and B2C markets. And if that's not enough, he is also an award winning poet, songwriter, and the author of Life's a Pitch, Then You Buy, a sharp look at why every communication is a call to action. Get ready for a conversation full of insight, strategy, and stories from the deal making trenches. Bill Barlow joins us today. Hi, Bill.
Okay.
Welcome to my podcast. How are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm doing good. And it's really nice meeting you on this podcast. And you have a tremendous, ultimate career in direct marketing and as an entrepreneur. And you are shark behind the sharks. You are nicknamed as shark behind the shark. So we will learn a lot from this podcast. So definitely, I'm looking forward to your insights, your all your journey, and whatever you have done in your life, in your business, in your personal life, and your mindset, and everything we try to cover in this podcast. Okay.
Well, great. I'm
So,
happy to dive in.
okay, great, Bill. So, how it all started, Bill? What about your first as an entrepreneurial venture?
My first entrepreneurial venture, well, I think it goes back a little further than that. I was a young guy in an advertising agency, and we were doing traditional advertising. And a guy walked in our office with a new product that he wanted to sell direct to consumer, which in those days was relatively new. And back then, it's hard to believe, but people didn't put phone numbers on commercials. They just told you where to go buy it. And in this case, somebody wanted to put a commercial. It was the Bible on tape of all things. And my boss didn't think it was going to do very well. So, and I was a young guy in the agency, so he gave it to me. And we did extremely well with that project. And what I found about it is it being able to talk directly to the consumer. Basically, it changed my life right there on the spot. I have never looked back. I have always been in some form of direct to consumer communications ever since.
Direct to consumer. So, direct to consumer means there is no middleman. You're directly selling to the end customer who is going to use this product. Am I right?
That's correct.
Great. So, what inspired you, or if I ask, who inspired you in your initial years?
Um, that's a tough one. I guess it was people like Ron Popeil, who were on
Great guy.
television.
Yeah, great guy.
Yes, I later
Yeah,
met Ron and knew Ron, throughout his life at different spots, and he was a great guy. But knowing him and knowing about what he had done, and he basically had a product idea, got up, communicated the message, made it clear, made it valuable, made you want it, and and it was more telling versus selling. And I really enjoyed his approach to that because there's a lot of people that yell and sell or do other things that I've never been a fan of. But Ron really did explain things well, make you want the product, and then you feel like you're making up your own mind.
great. So, so in your initial years, any big failure that you faced and which taught you a big lesson? Because it happens in every great
It
person life.
does. It does. I guess trying to think of what the sort of the pivotal failure might have been I went to work for the Home Shopping Network, and our job was to take the products that were already doing well on the network, and then put them into direct response format, and then we would sell them around the country, and then eventually around the world. So we would take them to world partners all over the planet. And I think we felt that anything that we had that people liked on that network were going to translate to other places. And that what simply wasn't true. Um, when you go from the US to Canada, very close, there are cultural differences. When you go across the pond to the UK and France, Germany, and Asia and India, there's very different cultural things that you need to know. So when
Right.
you're speaking to someone, you have to speak to them, not what you think they want to that you want to say. You need to tell them what they want to hear, the way they want to hear it. And oftentimes we didn't do that. And so going back, my I guess my big failure was I was doing a product for I think it was Italy at the time, and we were saying the wrong thing uh, to that customer, and we were saying the same thing in the United States, but it didn't translate. And so I didn't follow the number one rule of advertising, and that is know your customer.
Yeah. So that is very important. It's a very good experience that you shared. That what I say generally that people like in movies. So psychology is same, human psychology is same, but culture is different. So when you're entering into different market, foreign market, so you have to understand their culture. That is very important when you are pitching
Yes.
products globally. That's great advice. Great thing that you observe. Bill, you are author. You are an author, and you are marketing guru, then you are an award-winning poet, and you are a shark behind the sharks. So how did you get this nickname, Shark Behind the Sharks?
Well, the very first shark on Shark Tank was a gentleman by the name of Kevin Harrington, and
Hmm.
the all the other sharks sort of were brought into the show after Kevin was, and then the show started with three or four sharks, but Kevin was considered the first shark.
Original
I
shark.
worked I worked for Kevin for 10
Okay,
years.
okay,
So we every day in our office was Shark Tank. So people would come in, they would present their products, and then Kevin would say yes or no, and then he'd turn to me and say, make it happen. So we had
uh,
to take that idea that he had and make it work.
okay. So what was your exactly role that behind the scenes that to make things work, turning deals into practical? So what exactly you do generally?
So I'll kind of walk you through the process. I think that might be the easiest way to understand it.
Okay.
When the deals are done, in the sort of the boardroom or even on the show, there's no papers signed yet. So people have sort of agreed to agree. But until the contract is signed, you really don't have a deal. So my first job was to take our understanding and get that into a contract, and then make that contract something that people would accept on the other side, and then we would execute on that contract. And a lot of deals fall apart right there. They have an idea, you have an idea. One side may be greedy, the other side may be impractical, doesn't matter. Somehow somebody doesn't agree and a deal will fall apart. But my job was to make them work, because they didn't come to me and say, it's okay that it didn't work. They wanted every deal to work, and they also wanted it done on their terms. So, you got to be the shark a little bit to kind of convince people this is how you have to deal with us, and make them okay with that. So that was my first wave of job. Then we had a contract, and then I had to see that job through, see that project through. So we've made some commitments at this point. We're going to invest some money. We're going to do some marketing. We're going to build the product or manufacture, put it into the pipeline. So I have to oversee all of those pieces. Now, I'm not doing everything, but I am overseeing it all. So I'm making sure that the right people are making the commercial, making the product, and the QA is right, and the quality is good, because Bad quality means returns, and returns cost money, and nobody wants returns. So it's always better to sell a good product than a not good product because the good product stays sold.
That
So
is the real business. That is the real thing that to convert a vision into practical thing. That is what your role was.
yes, yes. So, and then I guess it was just that, just seeing the project through and client management. There was good times and bad times with any given product. We tried a lot of products and not everyone worked. We had a fairly high success rate. The industry was about 25% success.
Okay,
Um, Hollywood movies, of all the Hollywood movies produced, only 28% are hits. The industry of direct response is about 25%. Our success rate was about 46%. So we had a better eye, I think, on the front end, seeing good products. And we knew enough and had enough sort of global partners to make a product and project work. So we had a good success rate. But when a deal was made, the original shark, Kevin, would always be right there, shaking their hands, thanking them, for the deal. But when the deal was not, was we were going to cut them loose or terminate the deal, guess who had to make that phone call or go have that meeting? That was the shark behind the shark. So that was me at that point. So I got good
great,
at that, unfortunately.
great. So you had a tremendous career in entrepreneurship, Shark Tank, and direct marketing. So according to you, what mistakes generally companies make when they launch a new product?
I think the most common mistake is not understanding what the customer really wants. Um, you can look at it kind of like this. If you draw three circles that intersect, one circle is what the customer wants. The other one is what the company wants. And the other one is what the value of the product is. Now, the company has some value, meaning profitability and some other things, maybe marketplace position, et cetera. But that very center where all those circles overlap, that's how you're different than anybody else. And if you don't understand those three circles and how they come together, specifically what the customer wants and how you're giving them what they want, if you don't understand and communicate that, you fail. Every product will
Right,
fail if they don't do that.
right. So, Bill, do you think entrepreneurs are born or they are made? You have worked with so many entrepreneurs.
Uh, I think more are born than made.
Okay,
I think some are made, meaning they grow up or they grow up in the business around it and they pick it up and they kind of become they have the aptitude. But more often, I feel that an entrepreneur is born. You have to be different. My wife and I, she likes stability, she likes a job, she likes predictable income and all of the stable things in life. I'm an entrepreneur. I will make a lot of money and then less money and then a lot of money and then less money because I'm willing to gamble,
right,
and I'm willing to gamble with elements of my career that she's not willing to gamble with. So I think more people are born entrepreneurs for that reason. They've sort of got that ability to risk.
right. So, what lesson you have learned about entrepreneurship from these entrepreneurs? Like you have worked with so many entrepreneurs in all your life. What do you think that one observation is that like they are having some inner, you can say, drive to take risk. Okay. What else you think is important? Because I've seen so many people are like going to starting their own ventures nowadays, especially youth, and they are pitching their products in Shark Tank and so many other. They are going for venture capitalists, so many things, and most of them I have what I have observed that they have come from some job or some company or they were like uh, they just thought that uh, it's better to make my own venture and get some money. So, but they are not having those kind of that they were enjoying in a job. They were maybe they are masters in their field, in their position. But
Yes.
as an entrepreneur, it's very different. So, what observation you have noticed about entrepreneurs?
A good entrepreneur understands the finances of a project. Um, when you work for a company, you don't touch finances unless you're in finance most of the time. You're operationally based, you're marketing based, you're manufacturing based. You're not always thinking about your ROI in the same sense that an entrepreneur does. And if you watch any episode of Shark Tank, one of the first things they criticize or comment on is what are your numbers? Where are you getting your sales? How much is your margin? So they go right to the bone about what it is that it's going to take to make this work. So a good entrepreneur has no emotional attachment to that product or project until the numbers work. And we used to have a flow, a kind of a flow, and I'd share this with my people. I'd say, listen, the first thing we're going to do is understand the product and we're going to see if we think it's exciting. And then we're going to take that excitement and we're going to say, is there a market for this excitement? And then we're going to look at the numbers. And we're going to say, do these numbers work? Can we make money at this? And if then, well, we can go make a deal. But if we don't pass those sort of three things, there's if the numbers work and it's not, there's no market, there's never a deal. If there's a market and the numbers work, that's great. But if it's not exciting, then it's very hard to sell. So we feel like we have to have all three to get that product to resonate with people.
That is very important point that you mentioned because these entrepreneurs, they don't want to do boring job. Okay, they are not caring about operations. And second thing, the more important point is they are not bothered about sales. So they have not learned sales and selling stuff. So they are very good. Maybe you can say inventors or you product developers or tech on the technology side, on technical part. But they are not good on finances, sales, and operation. They most of them find boring. That whatever it's required to. Uh, and I have seen one more point nowadays that most of the entrepreneurs are instead of selling their stuff, they are looking for PR agencies to create stories online and try to influence people. That is
Right.
one more important
Yes.
point that I have observed. Okay, so Bill, about you, any habit or any ritual you followed? You are a great strategist, so you are doing this job for a long time. So which
Yes.
sharpen your strategic making decisions?
For me, it's the numbers. I look at every project and I dive into the numbers. I look at, what are the cost of goods, what is the lead time, what cash do I have to have out before I get cash back. So it's not just does it work financially on a sale basis? Can I float the cash that I have to make this work? So if I can't float that cash, I need a partner. I need someone with money to come in, and then that costs money. So it costs me money because I have to pay them, and they're going to want a piece. So everything is about the cash flow. And so for me, I have a spreadsheet I developed a very long time ago that walks me through all the costs that people forget about, insurance and landed costs when you're importing products from another country and trucking costs from maybe it lands in California and my warehouse is in Florida. I have to truck that across and I have to do QA inspections and my customers expect QA inspections and on and on and on. And maybe there's other local and regulatory taxes or things. So all of that adds up, and then your advertising costs. So all of that has to be factored in. So when I look at a product, I'm kind of seeing all these things and my habit is to sort of run the numbers. And then periodically I will rerun the numbers because as you go through a campaign, the numbers change. You might increase sales and you therefore can buy more products. So now your cost of goods can be lower. But to do that, I had to spend a lot more in advertising than I budgeted, or I have to pay a royalty or I have to pay an influencer or somebody else is in the equation I didn't have there. So I like to revisit those numbers periodically. So I'm kind of that's my habit is just running numbers.
That's nice. Numbers, it's very important. Numbers never lie.
No.
So that's why it's so important. This quote is. And Bill, so how do you deal with high pressure decisions?
How do I deal with high pressure?
Decisions that you make uh, generally.
Um, I'm not sure. I guess I defer it in my mind. I did a lot of live television. So in live television, whatever happens, happens. But it
Uh,
has to happen well, and it has to happen now, and it can't, there is no take two. I think by doing live television from earlier in my life, you learn to move stress and pressure away and deal with it later and then see if it's a problem. But I've had been on live shows and had things break. I've had cameras go down. I've had talent just panic uh, next to us. Just I've had all those things go wrong. You could probably imagine. But that has to be managed in real time with a cool head without doing it. So I guess deferring stress until later is my trick.
Great. So, Will, you mentioned one point that you find when products exciting your team. So then you go with the entrepreneurs. So how do you find a product because you are into on infomercials? Okay, so how do you find any product infomercial worthy? So that is the right word for the infomercial.
Yes. I have been fortunate, I guess, that I work with a lot of inventors and entrepreneurs. I have a few sources, but inventors and
Okay.
entrepreneurs bring a lot of products to the world, and they are looking for people that become their go-to place. And they get referred to, or if they see people, or they look at product successes. So they find me. I don't go out looking very often for new products. I'm very fortunate that they find me. Um,
Okay.
another another place I find products is manufacturers. I buy products from a manufacturer, and then I kind of bond with them, and then they bring me their new inventions, and they sometimes will ask me my wish list, and then they'll go bring it. They'll make it for me.
Oh,
Uh,
that's great.
yeah. So
They should
that's
listen
a
to you.
fun
Yeah,
job.
they should listen to you.
Yes.
You are a bridge between market and manufacturer.
Right.
Right. So, okay, some you find products, some people are pitching you, okay, and manufacturers are listening to you. Then, once you see the product, how do you find it? It's a true market potential. Do you do any kind of survey or research or anything, like sampling, all these things? I'm sure you have
Some
read that book, Scientific Advertising by Claude Hopkins. So he also mentioned a few points about it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a few ways you can do it. If you look at the cost to do an infomercial or at least a digital commercial today, it's the cost is fairly low. Used to cost about, $20 to $40,000 in the US to do a focus group. And focus groups will teach you a lot about a product that you hadn't considered. But that same 40,000 can get you to test a product live. So where I used to go and do focus groups, I don't do them as often as I used to. Um, I think I'm better at also understanding the customer than I used to be. So I have a legacy advantage. But overall, you can test a product on and just ABC test things with slightly different approaches and see which one resonates, and then just go out, with your campaign based on that. So that's kind of the angle and approach I take these days.
Okay, Bill. So, since you have worked with Shark Tank and also you are working in infomercial industry, so there, the very important point is products should be scalable. Like it should be sold in huge numbers, into masses and across the world. Okay, that is. So how do you test scalability? Like, is that if I suppose I am a service provider, if I come to you, then you will say no, you can't be scalable, but product can be scalable. So how you test scalability?
Um, we can do that. You're talking about scalability of manufacturing?
Yeah, means every product can't be scalable. So how do you see that yes, this product can be sold, not just in America, in other parts of the world?
Um, Well, you have to know a few factors for scalability. You have to be able to deliver product in time. So that becomes another leg of the stool that
Yeah.
most entrepreneurs don't either like or they're not good at or whatever. But that's logistics, and logistics is my kryptonite. But I need it. So I need to know what is my lead time and I need to know that have the cash to float that. So I've got to build a campaign that's not too aggressive. So if I'm selling really, really well, I may have to slow that campaign down to have the cash to buy that merchandise early to be able to get it built and get it delivered and get it in the warehouse in time. So it's to scale a project, you're really fighting a few factors. How genuinely um, exciting does the public find our product? How well is it selling? And how much cash do I have to be able to buy merchandise? And how much time will that merchandise take to be delivered? So those are your three factors, and you've got to dial things up and down so that you don't run out of cash, run out of merchandise. Because the worst thing you can do is have 10,000, 5,000 orders and no products. That would be a terrible thing because you'll lose 2,500 of those products and you've spent the same amount of money getting them.
Okay, great. So according to your experience, Bill, what product categories generally always work in infomercials? Top three categories.
Fitness seems to work
Okay,
across the board because people notoriously want to be healthier. Um, and kitchen, so people always eat. People eat every day, and people want to find products that are make their life easier in the kitchen. It might be the same thing they already have, but it works faster. It might be combine two things, so now it's cheaper. It may just be fun to use, but people love innovation in the kitchen, and I do a lot of that, actually, a lot of kitchen
okay,
stuff.
okay, Bill. So, since you mentioned that you are into infomercials and live TV, so in this era of YouTube and TikTok, so how customers' expectations have changed since you started your career?
I don't think customers' expectations have changed. I
Okay,
think that what has happened is people understand the customer better. In the traditional advertising days, the customer had one place to go to learn about a product. Generally speaking, it might be print, TV, or radio, but you told them what they needed to hear, what you thought they should hear, and that's it. They had no voice. All the new platforms, all the social media platforms, even the print and television platforms have the ability for the customer to speak their mind. So the customers have taken control of the brands by virtue of the fact that they can say, I don't like this. This doesn't make sense to me. I wish it was in blue. Whatever it is, they can say things that you would be able to suppress in the old days. But now
right.
they have that ability, and I think it's good. Now we understand what they really like and what they really don't like, and we can work with that. We'll take away what they don't like. We'll give them more of what they do.
The customer feedback is very fast and very transparent now. It's open, so anybody can see the feedback and then they can buy. So earlier it was not so easy. So that is one point that I have seen. Yeah, you also mentioned it. So Bill, because you are like a backbone uh, of your industry. because you are working all the operations and numbers. Number is your passion, number is your style. So, how do you balance creative vision of entrepreneurs with legal and structural need, business needs? Because that is your job.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's an excellent question because that gets overlooked quite a lot. Is the number one thing that you do when I do a lot of live shopping or have done a lot of live shopping over my life. I mean, a significant amount. And legal is a very critical part of that, meaning claims. So if I come out and I say, hey, I have this widget and here's what it does, they say, great, how can you prove that? They don't really take your word for things, and they shouldn't. In America, it's a little more lax, meaning I can say I do something, I have something, and then until someone sort of calls me out on it, I don't have to prove it. Um, but I should. I should already have it in file, but a lot of people don't. But I sold in the UK for a long time, and you have to provide your claims and have them cleared before you can get the commercial on television. And that's really good for the consumer, and it's really good for the advertiser if they don't like it, but they it's good for them because they know they've got the right claims and they know they're solid and they know that they're dependable because a third party's reviewed them. And I think that claims are significant to a product, good claims.
Okay. So, Bill, what makes a brand unforgettable according to you?
Wow. So a brand has to be something that delivers its promise or exceeds its promise in a way you didn't expect. So if I'm buying a bouquet of flowers, I know that they're supposed to be pretty and I know they might want to smell good. And I know that when I give them to whoever, they need to be happy. But if I give the flowers and I'm expecting them to be this big and they're really this big, and they smell so much better than I expected, and the person who receives the flowers is just completely taken by that, well, that's a good, that's, and I'm using that as an illustration. That's a good brand. So the brand has exceeded my expectations. Flowers are flowers. A spatula is a spatula. But if I have two spatulas and one just works really good, better than the other one, well, guess which one's going to be out of the drawer all the time. So that brand is a good brand. So it's got to exceed my expectations. And then when it does, I want to talk about it. So as soon as I get a brand that exceeds my expectations, I tell everyone I know, and that's great for the brand.
Yeah, you're right. Just to add a point, like it should be consistent, that it should always exceed my expectations, not once or twice. So that is how a big brand works, like McD or any big franchise. So there always you will find the same taste. There will not, and other experiences also, it will be consistent. So
It's hard to find genuine innovation
yeah,
these days in certain categories. So you just have to be hands down better than anyone else,
right,
just to get noticed, to stay noticed.
right. So in advertising, how do you approach brand storytelling?
Um, Backwards. I understand what the customer needs to hear to make a decision.
Okay,
So, first of all, it starts with you have to know your customer. Absolutely have to know who this person is. You have to know where your audience is, meaning where are they? You have to go to the audience. So I have to tell it in that venue. And then I'm going to speak in the language that is their language, meaning I'm not going to speak how I want to talk. I want to speak how they want to hear. And then I am going to tell them what it is I expect them to do um, with the product. And when I do that and I do that well, um, they will respond properly. So the story starts with the understanding of who someone is, and then kind of where we're going to place that story, meaning I'm going to tell a different version of a story if it's in a book or if it's online or if it's on television, because television I get more visuals, I get sound, I get the elements, various elements, same as on TikTok or something. But the length of the spot, the length of the attention is different depending on my venue. So now I know all of that, then I can tell a story that fits into that space. So I have to say the thing that they need to hear to move them into a decision point and move them into action. So that's sort of the process. So the creative has to, has to understand all that in order to be effective.
Okay, great. So, Bill, because in advertising you have a very less time, just a few minutes or maybe seconds, and it's not just a branding. You have to sell your product also when you are running direct response ads. So, how do you turn customer skepticism into trust in just few seconds?
Um, Usually it's testimonials and tests, so it's the two tests and testimonials. So I have a third party validating it, so it might be an expert, it might be a doctor, it might be some credible third party validation, it might be a seal of approval, but something that's other than us that says it's good. And then if you have the time and you're in the right venue, you have a customer who's already bought the product that agrees and says, yes, that's right. I bought this and it was very good. I enjoyed this experience. I love the product. So test and testimonials are the greatest builder of credibility.
Yeah, John Capel used to say, test, keep testing. Testing is the
Yes.
biggest weapon of advertisers and marketers. And
Yes.
so how, because now we are talking about advertising, so how do you craft a message that compels customers to take action, consumers? So what you mentioned about credibility, test, and proof, testimonials. Now talking about the action. So
Well,
what do you do?
well, you might find this interesting, but more than half of the ads out there more don't tell the customer what to do.
Okay.
Um, so 50% of the ads fail because they have not told the customer what to do.
Right.
When you hear buy now and like sort of a direct response ad, I'll take a car ad. You get this beautiful highway and this gorgeous vehicle driving down the highway, and it's a wonderful setting, and the woman and the man are sitting in the front seat looking at each other, and they're just enjoying the day. That's wonderful. But you haven't told me to buy anything. You haven't told me to go to my dealership. You just hope that I pick up on that. That's branding. Advertising, especially direct response advertising, is I'm going to show you why you need this product, how it's going to change your life for the better, and I'm going to tell you call now, click here, do this. I'm going to specifically tell you what I think you should do in order to get this product. And that's what you need. That's where a lot of people fail because I think a lot of people, even in social media marketing, they feel like if you tell the customer what to do, you're going to turn them off. But if you've excited them and showed them something that they want to get it. So you have to
Yeah.
help them. So
So you have to, like Zig Ziglar used to say, you have to become an assistant buyer. You have to help him to buy your product, not just a salesman.
exactly.
Right.
Don't make it hard. Be realistic.
Yeah.
Don't make them do two or three things. Click
Yeah.
one button and you're right there. Make
Don't
one phone
confuse.
call. You're right there.
Yeah. Don't confuse your customer. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. So how do you make call to action? Because in your ads, it's always there is a call to action. So how do you make call to action look very natural and non-salesy?
Well, again, it depends on the customer. So we're going to talk to the customer in a way they want to hear it. So, um, uh, you know, female audiences don't want to be sort of ordered, what to do. They want to be, coaxed, to what to do. So a call to action in a beauty product might be very different than if you're selling a drill or something that's a sale, a sale. You've got to buy this right now. That's a very hard call to action. But in a beauty item, you might have a softer voice saying, "Isn't it time you had the beautiful face that you've always wanted?" So you're making them say yes. The whole idea of marketing is get the person to say yes in their head. Yes, you're right. I need this. Yes, I want my face to look beautiful. Yes, I'm going to click here. So it's how you say it is dependent on who the customer is and the style of ad you're running. But that you say it is very important. You have to tell them what to do and how to do it.
Right. So this question, the next question is from two perspective, from manufacturer perspective as well as from advertiser perspective. Okay. So how do you balance innovation with what has already proven in your in your experience? So how do you balance that from manufacturer perspective, whether they should try new innovations, okay, or
Mhm.
what has already proved, so they should carry on that. And from same question from advertiser perspective, that you should try new innovative things or you should do those things which are already bringing results.
Well, I think it can be some of both. If you want someone to be comfortable with a product, you can give them something that they're comfortable with, and that's the established something. Um, Innovation is good if it does the job of saving me money, saving me time, making the job easier, making my life better. So anytime someone is seeing anything about a product, they're asking a question in their head that they're not really conscious of. They're looking at it going, how will this change my life? Will I actually use this? Can I see myself using this product? And so the advertiser's job is to make sure that they paint that picture that that customer can identify with. So you have to do that.
Okay. So why some informations flop even after having great products? That happens.
It does. Well, it can be a product that doesn't make sense. Um, this is not a joke. I had a guy come in the office one time and want to sell us an umbrella that would last a lifetime. That's how he started the pitch. So he had my attention, but it was made out of stone, light stone. So it was extremely heavy. And if you dropped it, you really hurt yourself or somebody else. So it was impractical. So
Yeah.
while it might last forever, no one's going to carry it. It's not, you can't use it. So I'm using that as an extreme example. So it has to be something that really makes sense. And a lot of times, an infomercial will get produced for a product that may not make sense. Or you're saying the right thing, but you're saying it to the wrong audience. So you might have I'll give you an example. I sold a box. It was a 8-in-1 power tool. It was one box. You open it up and there's 8 power tools in it. So you throw it in the trunk of your car, keep it in your condominium, your small house, apartment, whatever. And it was very easy to store and had everything you needed. But men weren't looking for this product where we were selling it because we were on live shopping and we were in venues where it was predominantly women. So we had to make women think that this was a great product for them. And about half of them were not going to use the product. They were going to buy it and give it to a man. The other half were going to use it and they thought that they saw the value directly. But we had to sell the woman on the product. And it was not a product that they would normally buy. So we had to make that attractive to the right audience. So
Right.
why would that fail? If I had sold it to men in a women's environment, no one would have bought it. And a man's pitch would have been different than
Yeah.
the way we sold it. So um, that's just one example of why some things can fail, is you're saying the
Very
right thing to the wrong people.
wrong people. Very good. Right thing to wrong people. So, Bill, how do you ensure product integrity when you are creating compelling pitches? That is also one thing I have seen.
I'm hearing, I have some noise out back. I apologize. I don't know if you can, hopefully you can't hear that. But
No, no, I can't hear. Yeah.
okay. So it was, can you repeat the question, please?
How do you ensure product integrity when you are creating compelling pitches? Because nowadays all kind of stuff is available and all kind of things are going on. So,
Right, right. Well, The good or bad news is a good marketer can create an excellent looking brand. And they can do that on a bad product.
Yeah,
So the way you can build that brand integrity is not what we say, is what the customer experiences it is. So the customer has to have a good experience. So when you're building brand integrity, you have to look at what you're going to say about a product, what the expectation of the customer is going to be, and you have to deliver and meet that promise or exceed that promise. Kind of like what we were saying earlier. The the product has to be the final sale of a product happens when the customer uses it. Because first of all, I see an item, I'm going to consider it. Maybe I see it next and I go, okay, I'm going to buy it, or at least try it. And many places will allow very liberal returns these days. Amazon, very liberal returns, television sales, very liberal returns, TV shopping, etc. But when I use it as a customer, it better do what I expect it to do. And if it does that, I'll keep it. So that's how you get brand integrity. And then the customer says, "Wow, I give you an example. I sold stain cleaner a long time ago. And we did a survey, and 70% of the people who surveyed bought stain cleaner didn't believe it was going to work.
no, okay,
But they've tried everything else. So they're going to give yours a try. And ours worked. I really did work. It was as an incredible cleaner. And then when it worked and got the stain out that nobody else could get out, guess what they did? They talked to all their friends. All their friends got online and ordered the product, and our sales were quite good. So we exceeded the expectations, not in our presentation, but in the customer's own hands. And that's where brand integrity is built.
okay. So, you mentioned that in your initial years, you worked with Kevin Harrington for 10 years. You were the shark behind the sharks. So,
Mhm.
how did you decide whether to say yes or no to a product? Y- Every day you were getting pitches, a lot of pitches and everything.
Well, there was a few things. There had to be a market for the product, a clear market, and our particular approach to marketing when I was working with Kevin was we wanted a broad appeal. So we didn't want a lot of niche items.
Okay.
Not that there's anything against that, but that was our approach. We wanted something that we could sell, by container
Masses.
loads. We wanted to
Yeah.
sell big volume, move a lot of boxes, as we used to say. And when we so it had to have wide appeal, had to serve a real purpose, had to be really something that that there was a story behind that we could articulate that story, and it had to be of good value. So once we hit all those boxes, and the numbers worked, then we had an item.
Okay. And you also mentioned that in your initial years, one of the big failure was understanding when you were working for international market, pitching your, selling your products to other countries. So, culture was a big thing, big issue. So nowadays, how do you approach when you're selling overseas in other countries in international market? So what is the difference you found between US and the other markets?
Well, I personally, when I was at HSN, we had global partners that we sold to and through in those days. We were opening networks all over the world, and then later they sold them. But when I was there, they were opening networks. So I got to go and be part of the team to open the channel. So there was 5 or 6 of us, and one person taught them taught the talent. I taught how to sell, how do we communicate, etc. But while I was there, I learned culture. I learned the culture of an area, and I learned kind of what the nuances of that culture were that were different than ours. So I got quite good at that and became kind of an expert at that. So I could take a product around the world and enhance one item and take something else out without offending or upsetting a customer. We were selling the cleaning products in Italy. And America, we said to people, if you use this cleaner, you're going to be able to do your cleaning in half the time. Well, in Italy, we insulted women because they said, oh, we're still going to clean all this time. People expect us to be doing these things during this window of time. So we don't want to stop cleaning because then they won't think we're working. So what we had to tell them is you're going to get everything a lot cleaner, a lot faster, and then you'll have more time to do the other things that you don't always have time for. So it was just a way of positioning the same pitch to the
Right.
culture.
Right. And do you face any bureaucratic hurdles when you're selling in other countries?
Yes. The
Okay.
cleaner is one. Electronics have different ones, but let's say it's cleaning and beauty, two very different categories. Both of them have ingredients that they're going to come in contact, people are going to come in contact with. So
Okay.
a cleaner, the local entities want to understand what's in it, how dangerous is it? Do I need to be list this product with a poison control? Do I, can people die from it? And what if they get it on their skin? How is it going to harm or affect them, et cetera, et cetera? So there's a lot of paperwork that goes into getting that done. A beauty product, not every ingredient that you put in a topical beauty item is allowed in every country. So you have to deal with the regulatory bodies to make sure that we pass that from an ingredient basis or have an alternate formula that'll still give us the efficacy, but just adds or subtracts a different ingredient. So you can take it can take you a year to get a product cleared,
Oh,
especially beauty,
okay.
because some areas in France can be very, very difficult to get cleared because they get such high scrutiny
Okay.
and they sell a lot of beauty there and they don't want the competitors.
So from a bureaucratic perspective, which category you found the easiest one to sell in other countries?
The easiest,
Easiest one, which category, which you found easiest one?
fitness,
Fitness. Okay. Okay.
non-electric fitness,
Okay.
because
Okay.
everybody wants to be fit.
Right.
The body moves the same by all bodies
Right.
everywhere.
Right.
So if it's not electric, and now when you have electric, you have UL and certifications that have to be done and different plugs and different voltages, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a lot of logistics and things.
So
So
only
that's another
mechanical product. Only mechanical product. Not
anything
electrical, but
that'll plug in,
mechanical. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So
or
Bill,
recharge.
okay. Okay. So we are living in the world of Amazon. We are living in the world of online shopping. So what do you think is the future of direct response and live shopping? And particularly if I say for the next 10 years, where do you think about where do you find this direct response and live shopping in the next 10 years?
Uh, I feel like I think it's a 5 year answer.
Okay.
I think 10. I'll tell you why I say that, and then I
Okay.
can. It may be 10, it may be five, but um, live shopping is a very different animal today, and I'm talking from the United States primarily right now.
Okay.
The United States watches television today different than they did 5 years ago, and very different than they did 10 years ago.
Right. Right.
Meaning that we used to sit and go through and watch channels. Now it's digital and streaming, and people don't have the cable TV systems that we once had and the satellite
Yeah.
systems that we once had. So to find and even get to a shopping channel is something that someone has to elect to do. And they used to find them and get intrigued by a visual and just stay there, but now they don't have that option. So it's
Right.
you're going there intentionally, which means that the audience is shrinking. everyone in TV shopping knows that what we see for TV shopping today will be different in 3 to 5 years. What 10 years will look like, I'm not sure. But I think that in 5 years, it'll be a very, very different shopping experience. What I think will stay the same is the principles of communication of the product. You need illustration, demonstration, testimonial. You need all your value points. That never changes. From going, you go back to the beginning of time, all that's been the same, and it just found the customer in different places. And I think now TV shopping has to find its customers in new places. And how that's done and where that's done, the first person that figures that out is going to be a billionaire.
Right. So, what's the next for infomercial as a format? Like I have seen that it's a 30 minutes, and even in 3 minutes or 30 seconds, something short format are also available. What is the next thing for infomercial? What people are thinking about infomercials
I
as an
think
advertiser?
infomercials have kind of gone into social media predominantly. So what we used to do, what we used to call short form, which is
Yeah.
5 minutes and under,
Yeah.
was short form, and 5 minutes and over was long form. Um, so the infomercial has gone to social media. So it's gone there with a slightly different feeling, call to action. But if you look at how they look at the successful ones, they still do the same things that we've always done. They make the product clear, you get the value, all the things I've been saying, all are in a good presentation. Um, you just have different people doing it. So you've made them less formal. So you have people dressed in casual clothing. They're in their home. They're standing out in the park. It's not formal like it used to be, but the content is exactly the same. They're saying the right things about the product that makes you want that product. So that's where short form has already gone.
Okay.
TV still has short form, and there will be short form as long as television is what as it is today, because
Okay.
that's who's paying for it. Television. That's who's funding the stations keeping their lights on. So they're not going to go anywhere until TV goes away completely.
Okay. So, if you had to pitch any product to Shark Tank today, what product would you bring in?
Hmm. It would definitely be a an item that saved you a lot of time doing something that you don't like doing right now.
Okay.
Um, I don't have a product in mind, meaning I don't have anything in my back pocket. I'd love to pitch and use this forum to pitch.
Okay.
Um, but kitchen innovation, I do a lot of kitchen innovation, and I'm working with QVC currently to bring some products to them in new innovation. So I'm seeing a lot of that, and haven't seen innovation for a long time. Not real innovation, but I'm starting to see some now. There's some really cool things coming that I think it would be something in that category.
Okay, Bill. So you are an author, so you have written a book. So tell us about your book, Life's a Pitch, and then you buy.
Life's a pitch and then you buy. It's basically centered around one thing. Everything you say, everything you communicate is a pitch. It doesn't matter if we're selling a product, if you're preaching a sermon, or you're talking to your kids. You have something to say and you expect a certain outcome. And that is all communication. So, what I do in the book is I identify 10 areas of communication and I break those down into sort of very good detail, almost textbook like detail, to show you how to understand that area of communication and then how to integrate it into whatever you're communicating. And then I break that down. And in each chapter, I start with a real life experience that I have that illustrates that particular area of communication. So I've got a lot of, sort of personal stuff in there. So it was a
Wow,
lot of fun to write.
great. So when did you write this book? Uh,
So I wrote the book, the basis of the book way back in 1996, believe it or not. I was in a trade organization called the Electronic Marketing Group, and I worked at HSN at the time, and we were a big member of them. So I went to all the conferences, and we got a phone call from the organization saying we have a bookstore at the next trade show, and we want to feature books by people in the industry that bring value to people. That'll teach people how to sell, teach people how to do whatever. Um, and they offered Kevin Harrington the opportunity to write something, and he didn't feel like it. So I said, I'll write something. So I wrote the Life's a Pitch, and it was a much smaller version than what I've just recently published, and that went out then. It was kind of on a limited basis, that book. So I've been meaning for many years to update it and make it more in depth and add life stories, and that's what I did. And so now, as of last year, I just finished and published it on Amazon.
okay. So any mantra that you would like to pass to future entrepreneurs
I'd
that
say
you have learned in your life?
I would say only sell a product that delivers its promise. If any product you sell must deliver its promise to the consumer of that product. If it doesn't do that, you're going to get returns. It's going to be expensive. You have a lot more problem selling a bad product than a good product. So why not sell a good one? You put the same amount of effort in, just get something good.
Okay. Last question, Will. Uh, what one piece of advice that you wished you had when you started your career?
Mm. Diversify my investments.
Okay.
Um, a lot of people see a shiny object or a new product or something interesting, and they kind of go all in because it's so exciting. Um, but it's better to drill 3 holes in the ground than one if you're going for oil. So you should you should drill 3 holes in the ground
Right.
with your investments versus just putting all your cards on the table for one thing. And I wish I had known that early.
Okay, Will. Thank you so much sharing your insight, sharing your experience, and all those examples. You had a tremendous career as an entrepreneur, as a marketer, and strategist. So I learned a lot from you in this episode. I wish that all these young entrepreneurs who are nowadays, I've seen so many entrepreneurs like startups and everything, uh, so many countries, and they just want to be succeed in their industry or in their business, in their venture. So they should learn from you because you are the shark behind the sharks. So,
And I've made the mistakes for you. So listen to me.
yeah. And,
Just kidding.
and what I've seen that though, like you talked about that glamorous thing, shiny thing. So they are like looking towards that side nowadays. That
Mhm.
they are looking that I have seen that startups want to quit. Like they just want to make it a big, and then the founders want to quit as early as possible. They are not ready to grow it or continue it. So they are looking for venture capitalists and all those things, and they just want to quit. So and make a lot of money. And so I don't know whether it's the right approach or not, but sometimes it becomes unethical. So and ultimately it's investors' money and people's money and a lot of things which are at stake. So so they ignore the boring stuff. They want. I have seen that uh, founders that they say sales is not our job. It is the people. We will hire the people and they will do the sales for us. That they think sales is some kind of low profile job or that I have seen. And again, the second thing is operations. So they are looking only the glamorous thing. I'm not talking about the all founders, startup founders. Some are doing excellent work and some are really doing great job. But still, you will find some founders, and they should listen to you and your experience and your insights and your knowledge. And definitely, we should look for some great companies.
Well, overnight success doesn't come overnight, and it doesn't
Right.
come without a bunch of work. And if you find something later, you want to be able to go back to the people you worked with then to do it again, and you want them to want to work with you again. So um, you don't want to burn bridges trying to be an overnight success and then failing or succeeding and making everyone not like you. So it's life is about relationships, and it's about long term, not short term. So, my father taught me you're not in life for this deal. You're in life for your career. And your career is made up of many deals. So if you focus on your career versus on this deal, you'll get along a lot better. So great words from my father, and I've
Great,
lived by
great
them.
advice. Yeah. And you are also an award-winning poet, Bill. So I just forgot it. So just tell about
Mhm.
it. What kind of poem? Because it's a very rare combination, a marketer and a genius marketer, award-winning poet. It's a rare combination. I found it very interesting. So uh, I- uh, I skipped it. It skipped from my mind. So can you tell about it?
The which thing specifically? My award-winning part?
Poet, yeah, award-winning poet. Yeah. So what kind of poems you
Oh,
write?
yeah. So I was a kid. Uh, and I still to this day have this. I hear songs, completed songs in my head. I can't play an instrument and I can't sing. So my blessing is I can write. My curse is I cannot perform. So, what I have is poetry, not a song. So I've written a number of things, and I've been writing since I was literally in my 20s.
Oh,
I um, heard a poem one day that didn't have any music, which was different. It was very long, and it's called The Meadow, and I wrote it down and looked at it and thought, wow, that's beautiful. I like this. One of the only poems I had ever entered or considered entering into a contest. So I entered it, and I came in second place, a national contest. So uh, I thought, well, this is nice. So they said, well, you can enter it again next year. And I said, the same poem? They said, yeah. And I won third place next year for the same poem. And then I entered a different poem the next year, and I won second place on that one. Um, and I've never been motivated to enter a contest since, and I don't know why. Um, but I have won three awards in three
oh, wow,
attempts, so maybe I'm afraid I'll fail. But I've never been motivated since. But I feel like I probably should enter a few things someday. But
great. So, you are occupied your entire life in your work. So, have you ever thought of quitting? And if if you thought about it, what pulled you back to your work?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the
Okay,
question.
so you have worked entire your life, in you have devoted your life into this career. Okay, so have you ever thought about quitting? And if so, so what pulled you back to your work?
I've never thought about quitting.
Okay,
See, this is the entrepreneur. This is the difference between an employee and an entrepreneur. I,
of
I
course,
think an entrepreneur is
never
wired
quits. Yeah,
to to do. Um, uh, we were joking. My wife and I were joking recently, and she said, "If you play this lottery, you might win. You could win $1 million in this lottery if you buy a lottery ticket." And I turned to her and I said, "Well, if I win, I might go part-time."
but never retire.
But never retire. Right.
Yeah.
So it's just if it's in you, it's in you. Um,
Yes.
and I love it. I just love what I do, and I enjoy it, and I think I'm good at it. I've made myself and others a reasonable amount of money, so all the markers of success are there, joy and happiness and financial. So all the markers are there for me.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Bill. Thank you so much for sharing all your uh, advice and all your insights and great experiences that you had in your life. Superb. Thank you
You're
so
very
much.
welcome.
Wish you all the best and keep inventing new products, keep pitching new products and selling. World needs such kind of marketers and such kind of products, inventors. Thank you so much.
I will do that. I will do. You'll see me whether you know it or not through my products.
Right. Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Bill. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you very much. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye. That was Bill Barlow, strategist, storyteller, and the engine behind some of the biggest deals you never knew about. From structuring investments behind Shark Tank to steering brand evolution at famous discoveries, Bill's approach to business is as creative as it is calculated. His insights remind us that opportunities are not just found, they are built brick by brick, conversation by conversation. If you want to learn more about Bill's work or pick up his book, Life's the Pitch, then you buy. Check the description for all the links. Until next time, keep pitching, keep building, and remember behind every great idea, there is someone making it real.